police officer's wife,
No,
called Flowers for Aubrey.
I didn't see it.
Pretty sure officer went up and met her at the school she teaches at and took her flowers on Valentine's Day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Good to see you, buddy.
Oh, those are Reagan's cookies.
Yeah, I don't think you better be sharing those.
And you
I think it's
compliment,
just wrong that he puts it on the table.
Well,
though.
it is.
I apologize.
unless you're gonna just pass them out, you know.
Yeah.
I know a guy that makes them.
Yeah, Mike Griffin makes them, yeah. That's sweet though, when your kids make cookies. Made brownies with my grandson. He loved it.
Yeah, I'm trying to cut back on sugar, and it's just shocking how much.
Everything has, right?
Holy cow!
Yeah, so I know. It's my.
Well, then you get into the fake sugars, and which ones kill you and which ones don't kill you.
This one is stevia. It's a plant based.
Well, that's what I'm going with because
yeah.
it seems reasonable.
Well, and
compared to
actually
sucralose and some
Right.
of
The
the others.
studies on it actually, if you get the extract and actually have beneficial properties because it's an herb plant and it actually, we've grown it and you can take a leaf and
Yep.
it melts in your mouth. It's amazing.
And I tried the little, what's the little one that looks like little apples or something? It's super concentrated.
The monk
Oh
fruit.
my gosh!
It is very concentrated.
Holy cow! Is
It's
that so
acquired
powerful?
flavor.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!
But the nice thing
Like
about
transmission
those,
fluid or something. It's like, yeah, I think I taste sweet in there, but I'm not convinced in it.
I like them fruit.
the stevia is 300 times sweeter than sugar or something.
Oh my gosh! I knew I was in trouble when the spoon it came with. Looks like something you'd use for cocaine or something, right?
really, really small.
That's all I put in there?
Similar look. Don't pack that in your lunchbox.
Oh
and
my
get pulled
goodness.
over. You're gonna get questioned on it.
Stuff is, holy cow, that's
Yeah.
wrong. But it doesn't, I'm not convinced it tastes like sugar. It just doesn't.
No, but it does.
Stevia tastes like sugar more or less.
I think the extract tastes better, but then some people don't even like that. I don't know.
Well, and I
personal
guess some of
preference.
them wreak havoc on your insulin system, right? Because your body tries to have a reaction, and so you gotta watch for that, because you don't wanna be screwing
My
around.
doctor says all sugars affect your, whether they're, not the traditional sugar or artificial or what, affects your blood sugar levels.
Right.
In some way.
Right, so
Yeah.
your body is battling, you thinking it has to do something, it doesn't have to do anything, and it's like,
Then you get into carbohydrates, and your body treats those like sugars, so you can't eat a lot of things that you really, really like.
well, something I saw a
That's-
program
that's
that
about
a
it.
while back that said our bodies do not require a single grain of sugar
Well,
to function.
that's true.
We make all the sugars we need out of carbs and other things. We don't, if we never ingested a single piece of sugar, we'd be going to the
But then
design.
there wouldn't have honey. I like my
Well-
honey. I know. No, I mean we don't.
Honey's probably the best thing, because it talks about that in the Bible, land of milk and honey, so.
Yeah, but it got, what's his name in trouble?
There you are.
Hey, howdy.
Woohoo. Right on,
Reaching into
right on
that line
time.
and
Oh, I know,
stalling,
coming
taking
close.
the
I had
thing
to
out.
leave a different meeting, come this.
Long hair, Samson. He got into trouble because he went after the
Are we ready?
How we doing, Mayor Pro Tem?
Welcome to our Poetry Town Council meeting for our beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on this Thursday, February 20th, 2025. We welcome you and want you to feel heard, valued, informed, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and want minority views as well as majority views to be heard. We also appreciate mutual respect despite opposing views. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments in favor of or against a topic are welcome. However, this town council meeting is not the time to ask questions or for interrogations. We encourage anyone having questions to come either talk to us at a break or after the meeting to email or schedule a meeting with us. At this time, I need to remind the public that a disruption of this meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to Texas Penal Code 14 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, any person who makes profane, slanderous, threatening remarks or becomes disruptive during the meeting will be asked to leave or may be escorted out by a peace officer and given a citation. At this time, our City Secretary, Ann Hamilton, will take roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Blake,
Here.
Councilman Simeon White,
Here?
Councilman Tom Anderson,
Here.
Councilman Mike Chaffee,
Here.
Councilman Terry Fowler,
Here.
and Mayor Tara Sankovich.
Here. And quorum is confirmed. At this time, Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Blake will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's ride, and the invocation. So remain standing, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you that you've given us a place to take the town's business and discuss it. We ask you that you give us clarity of thought and that we do everything as unto you. And it's in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Okay, under E, citizens' comments, we have some citizens who signed up to speak at this time. I'm just going to go with the order that I have here. Ryan Lutz. I think he wants to speak about the Bishop Airfield.
Yes, I just wanted to let the council know in the town, I had the opportunity to go to Austin a couple weeks ago with the city of Rockwall, and some of the other surrounding cities, and I had the opportunity to meet the new chair of TCEQ, Brooke Paup. She couldn't speak specifically about our Bishop Airfield because she's 1 month in, and she had to be careful about what she could talk about. But she did mention specifically that she is open to community involvement, particularly hearings. So that was good to hear. I did get the chance to talk to her chief of staff, Patrick, who, I talked to him a little bit and told him our story, and gave me his email so I could follow up with him and have a chance to just make sure that we are doing everything we can to have a hearing and make sure that it does get looked at by the TCEQ. So it's a small,
All right.
exciting development, I think.
All right,
So,
awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, the next person who signed up to speak, a general item, Scott Leahy.
Scott Leahy, County Road 2426. I wanted to bring to the attention of everybody in the council and everybody who is here and may watch the video later, something that occurred at the January 16th meeting, the last meeting. During the time of the general citizens' comments, I'm going to start at the end and work my way backwards. Ms. Shelley Smith spoke for 3 minutes and time was called. Before her was Mr. Doug Kendrick, who spoke for 3 minutes and time was called. Before that was Mr. Dale Bryant, who spoke for 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Time was not called because he did not reach his 3 minutes. And the first person to speak, who was introduced as a citizen comment speaker, was Kevin Sinkovich, who was allowed to speak for 5 minutes and 15 seconds. I don't know why. Time was never called. There was no discussion. He was not interrupted. I don't know why this happened. And I personally saw the timekeeper pausing the stopwatch multiple times. I can't presume why she was doing that, but it looks like favoritism. It looks like impropriety. It has every appearance of being ugly. I don't know why it was that way. I can't presume why. I do have to ask, I'm not sure why a citizen in the audience who's keeping time when the city secretary is sitting right there, the town secretary is sitting right there. This is very disturbing, bothers me a lot. It should bother everybody at this table. It should bother everybody in this room. It should bother everybody who watches this video after the fact. That's not right. It's not right for anybody. It's particularly not right for your husband to be that person.
I would agree. I was unaware of that, and we can't really comment because it's a general item, but I was unaware of that until 2 days later. So the clerk, he was the first one to go. I'm not sure what happened. But I will say he was speaking about roads, and he is considered the road expert. So even if the time had expired, we would have allowed him extra time because he was speaking about, as a road team captain, he was speaking about the expert as an expert on the roads as well.
That's
So,
fine, but he was not recognized as an expert, and that was not above board.
you're right. I wasn't even aware of that, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. And our volunteer clerk has been doing it for a number of years, and we appreciate her. But I think that it was just it escaped her that he was the first speaker. So, but my apologies.
My other comment is from that same meeting. There were 24 minutes spent talking about the people who were having neighbor problems on the road with the burning of the barn and the loud music, etc. That's 24 minutes.
How many more points do you have?
This is my last point.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to have her hear him out.
Okay, we'll extend his time for another 30 seconds.
My comment would be 24 minutes of table time for complaints that were received from one or very few citizens. The structure of the comment section affects every citizen, and we can't even get that on the agenda to be discussed. The general comments up front before the citizens can hear the details of each individual agenda item has the effect of chilling public comment, and having it that way originally could be considered oversight. Keeping it that way seems willfully keeping citizens out of reducing their ability to comment. Thank you.
Okay, so as a clarification, I will say that most cities and counties do it the way we're currently doing it. That has looked at after 3.5 years of doing it a way that is not normally done. And so it was actually brought to council, I think 5 times. And so this last time it was voted in a majority to change that, and it has made an effect to make our meetings more efficient. And so Ms. Shelley Smith.
Once again, the town is moving city limit boundaries without formally following state law. As is stated on the engineer's report, that changes were made per the town's request. This goes against state law. If this is supposed to return the town limits to the original incorporation limits, then it becomes fact that Simeon was never eligible to run or vote, nor was his family. The map seemed to change when Simeon was a key figure in the secret planning and zoning committees, which is quite suspect. The map was changed to include him and his family. Now it shows that they were not, and never will be in the town of Poetry. I suspect that this may be something to do with Simeon not running for office again. On the flag designs posted online are not indicative of our town. We are not known for wide swaths of bluebonnets. Nor are we known for designer cows. Specifically, the mayor's cows have no place on the town flag. The one presented this evening is close. However, I would recommend changing the star to one that is similar to the town seal. And it would be nice if somewhere the poem that's referenced here was part of the poem that was talked about during the renaming of Turner's Point. Excuse me. The only thing the town can call as their claim to fame is the fact that we have the only town in Texas that is 36.5 miles long and 622 feet wide. Except, of course, where it was gerrymandered, but maybe that's what the flag should say, most gerrymandered flag in town in Texas. If we were to have the subdivision in Poetry like the one slated for between 986 and 34, it would become obvious that the town has no control over what happens on 500 acres after the 311, and therefore it's pointless. Oh, wait, we do have proof of that, the Bishop Field subdivision. It seems that the only way we can fight that is through some obscure EPA regulation that may or may not be a factor in that mud district. It just reminds us again, that the only actual control we have over growth out here is the first 311 feet. Again, I ask, what's the point? And to be clear, also, we're probably gonna leave the meeting early before it's adjourned. We would quietly slip out the back door, but due to the fact that it has been noted that it's far too dark and dirty, muddy to walk out that way, we have been asked not to use that door. So you guys know, that's why we will leave through the main part of the building, hopefully not to actually physically slip out. Thank you.
Paul Bryant. Or, I'm sorry, Dale Bryant. It looked like Paul, but it's a Dale. I know that.
Oh, a comment was made about why I'm not running again. Appropriate to address.
I don't know. I mean, under general comments.
Yeah, we can do factual, but I'll just skip out. People that don't know,
I mean,
that's fine.
a lot of what she said was false. So,
Well, I know all of it was. It is what it is.
so Dale Bryant.
Thank you. Dale Bryant, 139 County Road 2464. On the maps, question that I'd like for you to address in that subject is the half moons. There have been several discussions. One was that the half moons were not included in the calculation. So if you could confirm whether they are or they are not.
We will get to that.
And then two, is the point to refile the final map as part of the Articles of Incorporation? Are we going to amend that, or is that, or
We will talk about that at the time that's on the agenda. Yes, sir.
okay? Well, and that's all I'm asking, if you would at least address whether we're going to amend the Articles of Incorporation. And two, does this map, if you do, does this map in any way change the voter registration?
We will talk about that at the time, but we've addressed that as well.
Thank you.
They're great questions.
Thanks,
All right,
Dale.
thank you. Tracy Hibbs.
Tracy Hibbs. Okay, so, the agenda, in my opinion, doesn't have enough information for citizens to get up here and comment intelligently about some of the stuff that's on here. That's one thing I would change.
You are welcome to email us if you have questions.
Yes. Yeah.
Monday at 6:30 for
But the
clarification.
agenda, the state law states that the agenda should be enough information for citizens to adequately comment. I gotta give you kudos to the handbook. The mayor and I emailed about that. The other thing I want to say is swabs are also available, oral swabs. The grant that's talked about, on here, is it a surface transportation grant or is it just a block grant? Two different, totally different things. So if we're gonna use the grant for roads, I think we should look at the surface transportation. And then on the map that was posted on the agenda, it says in the bottom right-hand corner, this document was prepared under 2 TAC 66.3.21 and does not reflect the results of an on-ground survey. So that's kind of confusing because I thought we paid this engineering company like $15,000 already. I thought that was the whole purpose for us to get a survey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks, Tracy.
Tracy. All right, that's the end of our comment section. Okay, under items of community interest, thanks to Councilmember Jaffe and Councilmember White for raising the flag on Inauguration Day. Thanks to Councilmember Anderson and Grandnephew Dax for lowering the flag until January 28th and then raising the flag again to normal height. Thanks to Volunteer Roads Team, which put out 20,000 pounds of new asphalt on CR 247 and 249. Thanks to Kevin Sinkovich, Trevor Kroger, Councilmember Terry Fowler, Mike Griffin, and Mayor Sinkovich worked on Thursday, February 6th Both Ken P. and Councilmember Mike Jaffe lent their truck and dump trailers as well. We're very grateful for the equipment use. Thanks to Herbert Fletcher for lending his truck and trailer, Trevor Kroger, Mike Griffin, Councilmember Fowler, Councilmember Blake, Kevin Sinkovich, and Mayor Sinkovich for putting out 5 tons of new asphalt on CR 249 on February 14th. Mayor Pro Tem Blake, Councilmember Anderson, and Mayor Sinkovich will be heading to Austin next week to meet with the state representatives regarding the mud and other items which potentially affect our town.
Thank you. I didn't raise the flag with Councilman Jaffe for inauguration day. I don't know who was with
You
you.
were there
but it
in
wasn't-
spirit.
Yeah, right here. Hey,
I was
just didn't
thinking
want
about you.
Oh, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you for
I
the
just didn't want to take
correction.
the credit for your work
No,
there.
it's all good.
Oh, was that Anderson that helped you? I must
No,
have gotten.
nobody did.
Nobody
Tom
did.
and I talked, but I just
Oh,
did it.
okay, you just went ahead and did it.
I just
Okay,
figured it
he
out.
was solo. Okay, thank you for that correction. Okay, going on to reports. We've got the January end report. You can see that we had deposits. We had the FEC, the semi-annual payment of $18,993.31 came in like clockwork. The Blackjack disposal, their quarterly payment was $11,247. And then the sales and use tax was $9,549.48. So the total incoming deposits were $39,906.95. Checks paid were a total of $89,040.84, largely in part because we just spent nearly $60,000 for Hunt County roads. It was unanimously voted upon last time, so that those checks were paid, and so that's why that is higher than normal. And then we had ACHs of $3,686.22. As requested, and so our ending balance is $104,895.37. As requested, we did have the FEC checks are there. It's a total of $377.98. I think they go off in July. It'll be the 3rd year, and Secretary Freese is on that. And then we have an additional report that I'll cover here in a minute. In fact, we could go ahead and move on to that one since I probably should have. Yes.
Tara, I think you skipped under item F, item 5, about number 6, announcements involving imminent threat to public health and safety. Did you intend to speak on that?
Well.
The matter of the 2440 incidents.
Oh, okay. You didn't ask me to add it to the agenda, but.
Well, when I asked, you said, well, you had it in under that.
Okay, well, we could, all right, we do have a public imminent health, as you know, we talked about last time we sent out letters because we had numerous complaints. It wasn't just one or two, numerous complaints from citizens very alarmed and concerned about a 3rd-degree felon who was indiscriminately random shooting. I talked to one fella who had a bullet in his door, he had a bullet in his kitchen, he had 3 windows knocked out, he had a bullet in his shop, and he was in his shop at the time, and he could have been shot. So this fellow, this 41-year-old man, there had been several incidences. They had come out on, in one day, 15 officers were there. He called a SWAT team. I'm not sure if that was, accurate or not. They couldn't detain him. So they did finally detain him near the end of January. They did keep him incarcerated. There's a hearing that's been moved a few times now.
It's March 3rd.
March 3rd now.
They had one today.
So I was able to call and file, because he's not here legally, I was able to do a ICE hotline. And so what that means is they can detain him. The judge, and then I had some citizens very concerned. They were calling me. I had several calls back and forth, talked to the sheriff, talked to the assistant DA of Hunt County. The assistant DA called me back and said that he will be detained, he could be out. The judge could let him out on bail, but because he's an illegal migrant, then he will be detained. And so, so that's where I guess the change of administration has made a difference, because in the past he would have probably been let out before his hearing on bail bond. Anyway, so he does have this hearing coming up. They think that he will get 2 years. He fired his first attorney. Anyway, so our working with the citizens, they were very alarmed, and they were very grateful that we were able to communicate, hey, this is what we're doing. We're trying to kind of be a liaison between what's happening with legal, because they won't really talk with the average citizen. And so I was able to be that liaison. So, and just to assure them, you know, calling them back, emailing them back, say, he is incarcerated, don't worry, you know, because it was very frightening for many of them. And so,
Plus, this
and
is
I
his
think
second offense.
second offense, he was arrested in July, I believe, and got out on a
$10,000
bail.
bond,
Yeah.
which the hearing was to be,
February
Yeah.
4th or something,
and
yeah,
so he did this before the hearing
Yeah.
for the July incident,
right.
which is another factor in his incarceration.
And I think you said you were gonna attend the hearing, you know, perhaps, and to find out, and I think we had some citizens who also wanted to attend
Well, March 3rd,
March 3rd,
in that 354th Court in Greenville,
yeah,
at 9 o'clock, I believe it is the hearing, and according to the judge, it's open to the public.
yeah. It is very concerning. That's not something we hear every day in poetry, and it was very concerning. And so it's been going on since July. It's not just been one or two. They've been frightened. These people have been frightened. And apparently he's mentally unstable, is what the assistant DA alluded to. So it is very frightening, but he is behind bars right now, and hopefully will remain there. And then they said once he can be incarcerated, they have to go through the trial. And my thought was, why are our tax dollars going through that necessarily? But they said that once he is incarcerated, then ICE can pick him up and take him to his country of origin.
Which, if he tried to come back, then he's got a much more serious issue than just a typical illegal walking across the border, because he's already convicted felon. He's not convicted yet of the July incident. That was to be happening before this. But once he's convicted, if he comes back in, then he goes to a much higher degree of felony or incarceration or whatever else.
But since he fired his attorney, it got pushed again. So anyway.
That's right. So he had a plea deal, and then he backed out, and then, so it's apparently March 3rd is the big hearing.
So Tara, just as a point of order, I mean, clearly this is above and beyond kind of important information we need to get out to the citizens for safety, but how are we discussing this?
Under imminent threat to public health and safety. I mean, under item F, item 6, it does fall under that. And
Okay, fair enough.
yeah. Okay, so thank you for that. I
have an issue on
Okay.
this financial statement. So one of the items for tonight is to approve payment of the audit, and it looks like we did that a month ago.
what are you looking at?
1/6/2025 MCPA audit expense $4,950.
Oh,
We wrote them a check a month ago, so.
Was that in January?
January
Y'all's
26th,
paper.
January 6th. It's a cleared check.
yeah. I mean, they sent it in January, and so yeah. No, that's a good point. We've had to push it back and push it back. So.
Anyway,
That doesn't seem correct to me. I'd have to check. If you had
hopefully
emailed
it
me
is.
on
I mean,
Sunday,
hopefully our-
yeah, if you had emailed me on Sunday, I could have
Well,
asked Teresa
I didn't
about
realize
it.
it. I spent all my time reading the audit because
Yeah.
we got that kind of last minute, and then started ticking and tying, and I thought, wait a minute,
It's check number 1627.
we already paid for this.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll have to check with her on that. Okay, yeah, thank you for that. So, all right, going on to, we have a new uncleared checks. So you'll see the first several are FEC reimbursement. And then the last 5 are the ones that are uncleared. We have 2 that are public information reimbursements that were written in August. One's for $6 and one's for $305. So we have a couple citizens that just haven't cashed those checks from August, and then the others just were written last month, so it's pretty kind of standard that they haven't cleared yet. But we will anyway. So we have the sales and use tax revenue report. Again, we had the revenue of $9,549.48. Good evening. And we have a total allocation from our sales and use, $176,177.85. Our road fund balance, since we spent almost $60,000 last month on that, the work has yet to be done, but we have paid for that, is $35,450.50. The general fund balance is $69,719.52, and our bank balance $105,170.02. And then Teresa's tried to, give you a breakdown here. Tries to do that, and that's kind of the breakdown of what we spent on the road items.
Very nice.
Any other questions on that? Okay, so now it's time for the Secretary's memo read by Secretary Ann.
Can I borrow your memo? I thought I printed it out.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do I?
It's on.
Oh, okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. This memo is short and sweet. Beginning March 14th through June 12th, during this election period, the Town of Poetry offices will be open the following hours.
Need the chamber to be quiet, please. Thank you.
Monday and Thursday, 1 to 7 p.m. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays will be 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. This will also be posted on the Town of Poetry website. Candidate filing period, application for place on the election ballot for May 3rd, 2025, ended on February 14th at 5 p.m. Our candidates for mayor and council members are: candidates for mayor are Mike Jaffe and Tara Sinkovich. Candidates for council members are Tom Anderson, Eric Bland, Terry Fowler, Doug Kendrick, Jonathan Blake, Dale Bryant, Tracy Hibbs, and Brian Lutz. The drawing for the place on the ballot is scheduled to be held on Friday, February 21st at 4:30 p.m. here at the Town Hall. A candidate may attend to draw a place on the ballot, or if unavailable to attend, candidate's place will be drawn by a non-candidate citizen yet to be confirmed. The last day to register to vote on May 3rd is April 3rd, 2025. Early voting runs April 22nd through Tuesday, April 29th. And I will post this information on the website under elections, under government, and then elections. So if you need to see that again, I'll put it up on the website. Thank you.
Isn't it already there?
No, I do,
Moment.
some of the early voting is not there, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda, approval of minutes from January 16th, 2025 meeting.
Do we have some corrections, Terry?
That's another one that we'll have to discuss next month.
Oh,
That was December's.
oh, okay.
See, Tara had those two typos, did you?
We fixed the typos, so thank you for that.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Okay, there's a motion to approve the minutes as written. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2, approve the January legal bill of $508.27. $231.52 is for the West Smith Aiken versus Town of Poetry lawsuit. You have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Okay.
Wait, I have a question.
I do too.
Okay, so we'll have to move it to the regular agenda then. Is there a motion to move?
Motion to move it.
Okay, all those in favor? And, all right, well, and that item will move and be item A under regular agenda. Okay. All right, number 3, approve the opening of window to receive applications for the annual Poetry Agriculture Scholarship and solicitation for donations.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion to approve by White, seconded by Anderson. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, under the regular agenda, Section A, we have approving the January legal bill. Councilmember Anderson, what's your?
Yeah, it's just a question of the part that says court reporter transcripts, $239, and on the back, it says, I'm not sure if this is the same or different, $231.52. I'm not sure if that's the same or it's different, but the $231.52, I don't see where that fits in. It's just
So
a minor item.
there's one more page, the
Yeah.
certified payment by deluxe, if you add that $8 to it, that's how you get to it.
That's
So-
how you get to that.
So she had a
231%.
fee on there that had never been on there before, and we actually had a new secretary. It was Christina Cox, and now there's another lady who's doing the invoicing. So we'd never seen that fee, and I thought, well, I want some details, so I invited her to explain, and that's what she sent back was the court recording and the $8 payment.
I got it, okay.
So-
Thank you. Make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 1, discuss update on prospective Bishop Airfield LLC. Councilmember Anderson has been on this, so I would invite him to go ahead and explain what he's been up to,
Well,
and then I'll finish up.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I guess several things underway, but the first one is that I had discussions with the EPA after we got the report from the TCEQ rep over in Fort Worth that said they couldn't find the tanks. Well, they weren't allowed to dig, so yes, they couldn't find the tanks, duh. So I called the EPA, and the woman with the EPA said, yes, absolutely, they have to proceed doing certain things, but in this case, the one that has to do it, or should be doing it, is TCEQ out of Austin. And she gave me the number of the person there, and the reason is that, that there is the code, it's called a Texas, Administrative Code, which is, this is it right here, and I read the whole thing. But anyway, that describes what they have to do, and they do have to follow certain rules. So the woman of the EPA said you need to call Elizabeth Vanderwerten at TCEQ, so I did, and she was real forthcoming. We talked and then exchanged a few emails, and basically she said, when we first talked, she said, we're still trying to find out who the real owner is. The documents that were given and submitted for the MUD did not really clearly identify the owner, and she said, that's the first step. Well, I got an email subsequently from Elizabeth Vanderwerten, who, by the way, is the liaison for the tanks, underground tank division of the TCEQ, and she said, well, now that we know who the owner is, we can proceed. And so proceeding means the rules set out here, which are very specific and extensive, and this is not something they can ignore. But they had to have the owner. Now, I asked about, is this all subject to Open Records Act that we can get? And she said, absolutely, except in the case if there's a litigation. In litigation, the lawyers may have something deemed, not confidential, not available. But other than that, it's all open to the public, which means we can get the true owners of whoever it is. So that's one of the reasons I was hoping to get in with her at our meeting next week. She's tied up in a lot of hearings, Elizabeth Vanderwerten, and so we're not going to be able to talk to her, but we will find out. Now, hopefully by the next meeting we'll know some of that, be able to get back. And she was very specific. She said she had a comment that she said we're on it and they're proceeding, and she said, well, they're transparent, but she said that they're on this, they're going after them, and this is happening out of Austin, not out of Fort Worth. And so she's the one that really knows what's going on. Now, Ryan talked to the person, Ms. Popp, who's head of the TCEQ, which we'll also need to be talking to, but at this point right now, Elizabeth Vanderwerten is the one who will really give us information that we need to find out what's going on. Now, the reason is that we don't know, according to the Fort Worth people at TCEQ, they don't know if they have tanks. Well, the answer is they do have tanks. They know they do, and they do have to report them. They do have to either remove the tanks. First of all, they have to remove them, or they have to dig down, cut a hole in the top, and fill them with an inert surface material like a type of dirt. But she said that's normally more expensive than actually removing the tank. So the first, they do have to remove the tank. And then secondly, whether there's leaks or not, they do have to do testing of the areas around it, which means drilling to determine if there are any leaks. If they find leaks, then that raises it to a whole nother issue, and particularly if it's, they have to also go after the water table to determine if there's anything in the water table. So the things that we're raising with them are things that by law they have to do through the Texas Administrative Code on the section of underground petroleum storage tanks. So this isn't something, as we were originally led to believe, they could blow off. They can't. So it's, but she did, Elizabeth said, it's going to be a long process. It's not going to go quickly, because right now TCEQ is overwhelmed with all of the work with the legislature. She said they have to send it into so many meetings and hearings and testify. And this is something that really has to happen somewhat after that occurs, which isn't bad in my view. It just delays everything for the developers. But then they do have things that the developers do have things that they have to do. Now that the TCEQ knows who the true owners are, they know who to press. So this is going to be ongoing. It's going to go on a long time, and it is Open Meetings Act subject, so it's something we can find out about, and I tend to do that.
Okay, thank you, Tom. You've been on it. I really appreciate it. In my estimation, this is probably the biggest threat we face as a community. Having that many homes that would, you know, potentially triple or quadruple the size of our area in one swoop. And so we're trying to keep abreast of this topic, and I know many people have been asking us to do so. So that's why it's all, you know, been number one on our agenda. We're trying to keep abreast of this. One reason that Councilmember Anderson and Mayor Pro Tem Blake and myself are going to Austin next week is because it is the 89th legislative session. We have established meetings with our representatives, and so we have 3 meetings scheduled. We were trying to meet with maybe we'll see if we get to meet with the EPA representative. But I wanted to go over some of the bills that do cover the mud. We have Senate Bill 102 by Bell and Hall. It's the one that I mentioned. Probably doesn't have a lot of teeth to it, but it does require the proposed MUD to notify the Commissioner's Court. The House Bill 447 was authored by Keith Bell out of Kaufman County. And this does have a little more teeth to it. It does require that a MUD, before it's able to do road bonds, it will have a TIA, so a traffic impact analysis study. So that could, you know, they need to do that, I mean, in my estimation. So I hope, you know, that one has a little more teeth to it. There's also, I think they have several. I don't know if they're going to wrap them all in one. That's one theory. This other one is House Bill 602 by Swanson. It requires a MUD director to own land subject to taxation in the district. A lot of times these MUDs will have, they're city within a city, but they'll have their board, it could be in Alaska. I mean, they have them miles away, and so they don't really know, they aren't right there. And so they're trying to make that a requirement that they live in the district. They have several here. They have House Bill 2010, Vassut, relating to the dissolution of certain special districts. House Bill 2015 by Weiner, relating to the consideration of water conservation by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, the TCEQ, when determining whether to grant or deny a petition for creation of a municipal utility district. House Bill 2561 by Pearson. That's Katrina Pearson, by the way, our new representative. Relating to the meeting place of the board of a municipal utility district. House Bill 2268, Isaac, special districts would, among other things, provide that the TCEQ authority to create ETJ MUDs to expire. The Senate bill, anyway, they have matching bills in the Senate, so I mentioned the House bills, but some of these are the matching ones. Senate Bill 102 is matching the other. So there's another one that they are trying to get approval that the TCEQ on the application form would actually be able to consider community. Right now they can't. You can have 600 people show up and they don't have a mechanism for allowing that to count for anything. And so in my mind that would be the best. The best course is that, you know, if 600 people show up, maybe there's a problem. And they should be able to, in my mind, add that to the application where they could say, you know what, this is not desired, there's some problems here, let's address those, and they could deny that application. So, but I just wanted to keep apprised of those, and we will be speaking on behalf of our area and to our representatives so that we can do all we can to fight this. So, okay.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Need a 2-minute restroom break if I can.
Okay. We'll take a 5-minute recess. Time is 7:12.
Thank you for your work on that, Mr. Tom.
No, it's a lot over.
He's got a binder of information.
Somebody else will have to pick up the ball and do it.
I'm just so impressed, I mean, the way your paper and you're like, I just read all this.
This is, but Simeon, this is only for the tanks. The Texas Administrative Code covers a lot of things that is law. This is a part of the tanks.
Unbelievable.
Well, but for us, it's good. Because it says to these guys, here's something we can point to, you have to do. And I didn't know that.
That is amazing.
And until she told me that, I didn't know that.
You wanna file that somewhere?
When it comes up on it, wave it. Ask people to sign up. So thank you for that.
Well, anyway, now that they're on TCEQ and also we have a way to
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. The streets have a way of correcting. Well, she said that they are totally other than if it's something. So the other one did that too? One transported, one dead on scene. So anything they turn out.
I can't believe all that's just for tanks. How many pages is that?
Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you what it is, the TCEQ did something really good. They took all of the code and distilled it down to maybe 10 pages. Plain English. So I read the plain English, but I also read the code. And the plain English part of it was really
I bet. But it preps you for reading.
But that's not the
Just, it's not gonna happen.
plain English.
I think that's wonderful.
Even Elon says that.
People said it, no,
Yeah.
that's just for tanks.
Well, he was talking to them. He says, yeah, I'm gonna get things wrong, and we're gonna try to correct it. You know?
Good seeing you.
Everything you can see, you know, the detail.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a way to do it.
Okay. I'm having to drink a lot of fluid for this medicine I'm taking, and it just, That's you too. Thank you, it was very necessary.
You don't know if you do.
Purposely drawing attention to stuff out. Prayer is always
This is the fact that it's leaded gasoline, changes everything. Nothing's happening. Yeah, that's still there. No. That's the easiest thing.
Give a check box.
I read about people, how the autism. Which I'm surprised by, well, then the rest of them down the road. Letting that into that picture, you say no harm. I mean, the creator of the lighting, forget his name, or something, like his 40s.
It's a very small amount.
Okay. Here's a timer. Okay, our time is 7:17. We'll resume our regular agenda. So moving on to
I have 2 questions
item number 2.
on one.
Oh, you want to, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Which Texas administrative code are you referencing?
I'm sorry?
Which code are you referencing? Administrative code? I want to read it.
Sure.
Okay. And then on yours, do you have any knowledge if they're out of committee yet, all those House bills?
They're
Any of 'em?
actually, well, hang on, they had a 4-day recess and they had another 6-day recess. They're just now been assigned, because there's a new House Speaker, so they've
Right.
just assigned the committee, so I think they're just getting in committee. And so that's why I wanted to get there before the March, because there's a TML day, and I wanted to get there before all that, because it's really key to get there, I think, to get there before they've all made up their minds,
Yeah,
right?
I was just curious if any of them had been in committee, because sometimes it's not uncommon for them to spend multiple terms in the, so do you know if any of these have been in the committee before?
They, well, I'm sure the MUDs have come up before, but they just got assigned by the new speaker.
Okay.
And so there is a delay, and it's actually kind of in our favor, I think, on this
Okay.
one, so.
I should point out, there's 2 things. One is, there's the code, and then TCEQ took the code and put it into plain English, so to speak. So the first few pages of this are TCEQ's plain English version of the code, not the law, it's their interpretation.
Okay.
The code itself is the law.
I just want to read it.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you got time. You're not fighting fires. And it does take time.
All right, any other questions or comments on that? Okay. All right, then moving on to item number 2. So we were going to have Kyle Caperton of our audit company here, but Debbie Taylor actually was the one who did the audit, but she had surgery, and so we were going to have Kyle come, but we didn't get the final. We had to have some revisions, though we didn't get the final one in the packet, and so, but Teresa was still having some back and forth with them, so that's part of the issue. So it's actually kind of nice. Kyle can't come next month, but Debbie should be back. And so we would actually like to have her next month to present. So we're gonna postpone that. As far as the invoice payment, I guess we can still vote on that. If it wasn't paid, then we need to vote on that to pay that. The $4,950.
Yeah, I thought we voted.
I mean, it's clear, if you want to give me a minute, we can look at the minutes.
Did we vote on that? Did we vote on that?
Yeah, it's in the
Well,
Okay.
Didn't we just approve the minutes?
Yeah,
I thought we did, but
we'd have voted on it in December, though.
we did?
I mean, I said we would have voted on it in December.
Well, I know we got the invoice, we got the invoice like early, and
Well, I
then we
guess it
didn't
doesn't
wanna
hurt to
present.
vote again.
Well, So do you
I
remember?
would,
do you
I would
recall?
question our accounting if we have it written on our P and
I'll
L.
question my memory.
I know, but it says we paid it
I
with a,
trust Teresa,
We-
if she wrote it down,
I
that
do
check
too.
is made the loop.
Yeah.
So hopefully we did, but anyway, so,
I make a motion, we approve the bill,
if we
assuming
haven't
that we
approved it.
haven't.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
I'll second
paperwork.
that.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, we're doubly good now.
Wow.
All right. So again, we'll hope to have Debbie back. She had major surgery, so hopefully she'll be back next, and then we can have a final. But if you have any questions, fellas, please send those off to Teresa and myself, and then we can ask him, or they don't want to be barraged, and certainly Debbie, after recovering, doesn't want to be barraged with questions, but we would love to kind of make it succinct, and if there's any questions you might have.
Well, I guess legally they'd have to present it to us, is that right?
I think
Something
so.
like-
Mhm.
Okay,
And it is to the council. They're not gonna take community questions, but
okay.
council, yeah. And that's in the agreement. Okay, any other comments by council on that? Okay.
I have a question. I know we got this late, but is it gonna be accessible to the public? Is it, I mean.
Are you
gonna
moving
get
on to
audit?
item 3? So
No, I'm talking about, you know, we got
The audit.
the audit. When will the audit, I mean, we have the audit, but when will the audit, because
says
it's
it's
not,
Next meeting.
but so it'll be in the packet then,
Yes,
next week?
yes.
Okay.
But,
yes.
but it says in there, this is available only to the council and the mayor and the management of the town. It's not available to the public. That's in the audit, it says that.
I think, well, in the past, I don't
No, we haven't.
We haven't. Okay, so it
No.
won't be
Okay.
necessarily.
I just assume questions are gonna come about that.
You're right.
Yeah, but it's in the,
Yeah, they,
Yeah, but they don't know that because they can't read it.
okay,
You
so
follow me?
it's, yeah, so it's a good point.
so it
Right.
won't be
Yeah,
necessary.
we're not at liberty to discuss
Yes.
it, but we can discuss it.
But the audit is a matter of public record, right?
The audit, it's not what it says in there. It says it
Well, it
was
says
only for,
presentation is not to the public, but
Well, they're gonna do it publicly, but it's really to the council, so they're not gonna entertain community questions.
the document itself is only for the council and the management of the town.
But since the way this went down, and somebody probably knows we have it, they're gonna wanna know, can they see it? And I just wanted to raise that.
But they will give the presentation so our
Yeah.
citizens can
Yeah,
know the
they can-
results of it.
They can
Well,
hear.
But I have to say, the most important part
Mm-hmm.
are the notes at the end, which describe any
Yeah.
inconsistencies or discrepancies or items to note. And that's something that will be, hopefully Kyle will be presenting, if anything in there. So that is to the public, because he's gonna be presenting it. But the audit itself, it says, is only for the council, mayor, and administration.
I mean, just make sure that that's
Sorry. Yes.
confidential on that, okay? All right, any other comments, questions on that? We'll move on. All right, number 3, discuss new pending interlocal agreement with Precinct 2 Commissioner Kelly Lane and Kaufman County for road maintenance. So, Commissioner Lane has been, you can imagine, it's been hit the ground running, but he's kind of succinct. So, I talked to him briefly when there was a culvert issue. He did come out and repair it, like it was pretty impressive. Within 20 minutes of my calling him, he was out, he put cones out and fixed, had rock truck there. And he's like, hey, the ILA, because I'd emailed him several weeks ago, it's with the Karen Bagley, the assistant DA, because the other assistant DA, Deborah Bonner, had resigned. And so she had handled it the last 2 times. So Karen Bagley came, and I've been emailing like, hey, you know, how's that going with that ILA? And so so she's finally sent back, and I made copies for our council on that. And it was and I did send it off just this afternoon to Attorney Berman, and he said that, well, it's pretty short. And I agree, it's pretty short. He said it might be fine. It might actually give Commissioner Lane a little bit more grace with us, but it is not. It's not the same that we have with Hunt County. It's not the same that we had with them previously. But
Tara,
Yeah.
were you able to ask, Kelly Lane or Ms. Bagley about, those issues that the two was, that we had in the prior one was, with Hunt County, we only pay for fuel and materials, we don't pay for equipment and labor. And then secondly, is that, the way they have it in here, the current one, it does have that we pay for materials, fuel, equipment and labor.
I saw that, yeah.
And then, which is what
It's
we're
kind of what we
trying to-
had last time. So when I sent the inquiry, I sent the old signed agreement. I sent the Hunt County agreement. I said, Hunt County and other counties give us, we come to the table with materials costs. We partner with them. They provide the labor and equipment cost. Can we get that agreement? And I said, hey, we'd like to have a meeting with you. In the past we had a meeting. So I think because they're short-staffed now with the resignation of Deborah Bonner, that she's just overrun, and so they didn't even offer to have a meeting. So this is what she sent back, and we can certainly make suggestions and say, okay, this is what and I said, we're gonna have it we're gonna talk about it on agenda tonight, and so if you have those kind of things, it'd be now the time, and we can, this is what our council has asked.
I know
and-
Deborah Bonner was aware, but is Ms. Bagley aware that in the prior one, the real problem was they tried to say they would charge us FEMA rates,
Right.
which were exorbitant. And we finally got in this statement that said, cost of equipment shall be calculated based on straight line depreciation, useful life, as defined in the Internal Revenues Code. And the reason is the state transportation code says clearly that if one county or entity is charging another, they can't charge any more than their actual cost.
Right, they can't
So
make a
for-
profit.
They can't make a profit, so to define that, got them to put in that statement, that equipment, they can't charge whatever they want, they can only charge a depreciation amount, which on straight line depreciation. And so that limits, again, how much they could charge, and then furthermore, labor can only be charged at their out-of-pocket costs, not all the embedded additional costs for pensions and things like that. It's only out-of-pocket costs. And so what is currently written doesn't address either
Right.
one of those points, which if, they're straightforward and all better than last time, then maybe it doesn't matter. But I think we need to know what their intention is, if it's to do it like they tried to do last time, or if it's to do it the way they finally agreed, which is to charge only depreciable amount plus for the equipment, plus out-of-pocket costs for labor. If those two are met,
She's been really hard to pin down. I was actually happy to actually get a response, because I've emailed her like 3 times and I got this response with this. That's the only response I've received.
well, I guess before we sign it, I would like to know those two answers.
Right. So I guess I could, if the council desires that, we could send the old agreement again, not the signed one, but, and now that I think about it, if the other assistant, Deborah Bonner, left and she didn't have her files, and maybe she didn't have the original agreement, because I just sent the signed one, and maybe I could send her, the docs, so it's not a PDF, a docs where she could modify it and say, hey, we had this last time, is this agreeable to you?
Well, I think we just need to get it clear up front before we sign it, because it's hard to undo something, once it's signed.
Yeah, I think to me, we're trying to, this is my perspective, we're trying to kind of start anew with these folks, because we really didn't start very well the first time, so I don't know.
Well, they took
How
care of
much
us
I
for
would
2
wanna-
years. They took care of us for 2 years, very well, and then it went south
Right.
during that election cycle. But for 2 years, we had a working agreement that worked very well, so just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
I also didn't see anywhere in here, maybe I just missed it, maybe y'all saw it, anywhere that specifies fuel, where fuel falls, them or us.
It doesn't list fuel at all, it just says material. So to me, this is just a very,
It says they'll provide
page and a
everything
half.
along with the bill.
Right.
So to Tom's point, it's like, what's the bill gonna look like?
yeah,
Just to clear it up front before we sign.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my only feeling.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have like an example, okay, you're doing road patching, here's what it's gonna look like, your materials plus 10% markup, your fuel is at cost, your labor is free.
I want whatever list we have for what we're being charged to also be exhaustive. I don't want there to be an administrative fee
Right.
to tack on at the end. So-
Well, and of course, they have the project sheet, just like we present, an example that's in our packet for tonight. The project sheet, you know, they require that as well. And
Yeah.
so for each project, you have an estimated number, and then we bring it to council and you vote on it. So they have that very same thing. So,
Oh, there's one other point, is, you know, I thought we'd agreed, to 2-year contract.
and
Or
this is
one
just
says
one,
year.
yeah. So, yeah, this is a very, like I said, it's a page and a half. It's, what does council want to do?
Well, they also have a way to cancel this
Well, they did last time. yes,
last
but,
time,
yeah.
but they didn't follow that. So-
No, they didn't follow that at all.
Well, I guess my suggestion is that we need to talk. I mean, a face-to-face talk would be great. Yeah, I don't think
I'll keep
this
it.
is something that we need to get a lawyer involved in doing it in legal detail if we can be sure that their intent is correct. And a correct meaning they're not gonna overcharge us.
Right.
We wanna just pay fair prices.
So what I gather from Kelly, he's just very succinct, and so he wants to like chop, let's get it done. But I agree. I think it'd be nice to get the old agreement. I thought it was a pretty decent, except I'd like to have the one we have with Hunt County, and just maybe have a, you know, if we can somehow, you know, schedule a meeting with him. He doesn't have to necessarily have, you know, because I think the assistant DA would want to be there, but I don't know that that's necessary, because it all goes to her anyway after.
Well, the meetings we had with Terry Barber, that Deborah Bonner was
Yes,
present.
she was.
So I would imagine Kelly Lane, any discussion with him would have Ms. Bagley present.
Well, and
Probably required.
we had our attorney there as well, so, on this, David was there, on the second one. So, I don't know, what's council wanna do on
Well, I
this?
think to me, it needs one more iteration. If we wanna bring up the other one, which we think was reasonably productive, we need to do that. I don't feel like we have much of the leverage in this relationship. I think they have more of it than we do. So I would be inclined to go in a little lower profile without a bunch of attorneys and a lot of, you know, demands and all of that, to see what we can get.
Well, for their part, I don't think they can do it without their attorney. That was my impression from meetings with Terry Barber, that she was always there. So that's Hunt County, I mean Coppin County, I believe, requirement. We don't have to have Mr. Berman present, and he didn't add that much.
Well, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to force them to do anything that they don't wanna do anyway. I mean, they're gonna pretty well lay out, I would expect, what they're willing to do. And to what
Well,
extent.
and that's-
From our previous discussion with our attorneys, it's purely a political thing.
Right.
It's, some of our citizens have a presence in Kaufman, and if they're worried about those citizens applying some force during election, then that would be their incentive. But they're not legally required, and it doesn't benefit them necessarily.
No, but from our point of view, we just need to know up front what are the basis for the charges,
Yeah.
particularly for labor and equipment.
Material, yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
an
I don't think
explanation
it,
of
I don't think
charges
it
is
lays it
wrong.
out sufficiently in
Doesn't.
this, so.
No, it doesn't.
I was a little disappointed honestly, but,
But fuel and,
I'm glad to have some response.
the materials is pretty clear, but labor and equipment is not.
Okay.
Yeah, so it says the written estimate submitted by the county will become a part of this agreement upon submission to and acceptance by the city, right? So that's the big gap, is between we say we have a project and then they send us estimate.
Well, and
What
as
is
it,
that gonna look like? What's the formula?
well, what it has looked like in the past, when I would actually send, a list by text to both commissioners, and now I would work with Aaron Conway, who was the, Terry Barber's right-hand person, and send, okay, hey, we have these roads, it has this many potholes, what's your estimate? And then he would text back a number, and then, or he would go look at it, of course, and then text back a number, and then I would present, you know, type it onto the project sheet, and then bring it to council for approval.
Well, I wonder if
So-
we might have a candidate project that we give them to kind of mock up that that could be a real project, right? I mean, for example, we could say, here's a stretch of road that needs work. If we hired you to do this 2 miles or 3 miles or whatever, the road we repaired the other day, which needs a lot more work still.
I don't think they'll do it, Mike, without a
Yeah,
contract.
no, I
They
don't
were
think
real
they
sticky
would.
about that.
No, but I'm just saying, if they want an example of the kind of work that we're gonna want them to do and the types of chargeables that are associated with that, right? They're gonna have fuel, they're gonna have labor, they're gonna have material.
Yeah,
mean-
just asking for a quote, pretty much.
But if Aaron Conway is still there, he knows, he's the one that did it.
Yeah, I mean, they do that all day long. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know if Aaron Conway is still there. I think he came in with Terry Barber, so I'm not sure if
Oh, I
he
thought
is.
he preceded Terry Barber.
Well, that's not what I was told,
Well,
but,
okay, well, in any case, I think at least we need to ask them before we sign.
okay.
And it could be a simple face-to-face.
All right, so, okay, so I think that if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying, hey, let's go back and see if we can't get
Specifics
a
on
more
how they're gonna
specific
charge.
We
agreement.
need detail.
We need a
Yeah.
little more detail. I think this council wants more detail, okay.
And it's a small thing, can they change city to town?
Yes, I saw that, I'm like, okay, she's not familiar with this like
I know.
Deborah was.
Yeah.
Unless it affects the price, in which case we can negotiate.
Give us a
Hey,
deal.
call us, hey y'all.
Call us what you want if you fix our roads.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on. Item number 4, discuss and approve the Kaufman County joint election, May 3rd, 2025 contract for election services and the initial deposit of $1,750 for services due March 7th, 2025. Discuss exceptional costs for special request. Okay, so Kaufman County has quite a big task in front of them, the elections division. We contract with them, we don't have anything to do with elections except for, we contract with them to, do a good job, hopefully, an accurate job of hosting the election. And so this is something it's gone up. It used to be $500 or $600 because we were a smaller entity, and now it's gone up to $1,750 as a deposit, and I think it may go up to around $2,000, but they'll wait until after the election. They'll send us a bill. So, but that's the minimum that we have to pay. Is due March 7th.
And the way I understand it is that's the same as for all of their
They're
entities,
doing-
and they have
yes.
15 or so, 20
Yes.
different entities that they do the elections for.
They're doing it differently. So they used to, I don't know the formula, but it was like $500 or $600 for some of the smaller entities. I think the larger entities probably complained. And so now it's like across the board, it's going to be a minimum of the $1,750 for all entities, and then they'll see how many turn out and then go from there. So Poetry actually has had a better turnout than a lot of cities. So we have like at least 40% of our citizens vote in all elections, which some of these entities, they only have 2%, 5%. So we have very engaged voters, which is good for a democratic republic, right?
But isn't it the take it or leave it? We have no choice?
We don't really have a choice for Kaufman County now. We haven't heard anything from Hunt County, because Hunt County actually is probably 2/3 of our voters, but we have to do this or we don't have an election, and we have to by law. So, but I have to bring it to council for approval.
And just so you know, that they will issue refunds if it's not all dues.
Okay. So the city secretaries are working with the elections divisions coordinators, and they're working very hard on all of that. So they have to, meet the deadlines, and I, stay out of it, and but they're working very hard on that. So,
Motion to approve?
Second.
okay, we have, if we could back up, I want to thank you for that, but I mentioned on here, I do want to mention something. The cost of services on page 9, any special requests made by a participating political subdivision are considered an exceptional cost and will be charged directly to the political subdivision. That's in bold and it's underlined. last election, I remember that, the election administrator was very frustrated. She was getting exceptional calls from Poetry. And she said, I've mentioned the same thing and explained my same thing over and over and over. You guys are costing us a lot of time. And so there will be an extra fee. And that's why, this is here, I believe, for us. And so I just want to keep the council, if you have a concern, you probably should go through Secretary Teresa. So it's one person and it's not like a bunch of people frustrating them, because they will charge us an extra fee if we cause them a lot of hassle, because, you know, they are doing their job. They have a lot of entities, thousands upon thousands of voters, and they're doing the very best they can, but they don't want to have to repeat the same thing 20 times. And so that was the feedback I got, and that's why that's underlined in bold, and she told me that there will be a fee next time. So that's, okay. So there is a motion to approve by Jaffe, second by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. All right, number 5, discuss the Burkhart, Hendricks, and Carter LLP invoice for $5,040 and Task 104 for 17 additional hours. So this is our engineering firm that we hired last January. We had them look at it in May and give us kind of an estimation so that we could, in the new budget year, provide what it might cost for them to give us an approved incorporation map. There has been some complaints about the Stovall Engineering map, and the meets and bounds had some math errors. And so the council voted to go ahead and have them do that on Task 104. It doesn't include an ETJ. That's not what it was meant to do. It was meant to only go back and correct any math errors that were made on the initial. It wasn't to change anything. It was to, the council voted to give them that Task 104, put their stamp of their seal on that, the engineering seal, and to correct any math errors. And so, and to go with, I think the council had said, you know, we want to go with the original incorporation map. And so that's, I believe, what we have here. I think there was a question earlier by a citizen. So I think Councilmember Fowler had brought up the question about the half circles and everything. They did include those. I asked specifically on that. He said they did include those. And it is well under the 4 miles. There was some overlap and doubling up of some numbers, so that's why he double checked that. So we're well under the 4 square miles that's required for incorporation, and they did include the half circle areas. Was there any other questions?
And we are gonna use this to go back to correct the original.
So we'll do whatever Attorney Berman says to do. I'm not sure that that's required, but we'll do whatever our attorney recommends at this point. But the council would have to approve it first.
Yeah.
And
So
so
the only thing now is to approve this budget,
the,
I mean, the invoice.
to approve the invoice for their 17 additional hours, and then to also approve this as our town map.
Oh, but that's not tonight's agenda.
Well, it's Task 104. That is the Task 104 was this map. Now, I will tell you that they went ahead and did, so this one has the point of ending and point of beginnings, so it's kind of cluttered, but it's very important to have those. But then he also did one without it, so that it's less cluttered. And I think Councilmember Blake had just mentioned that he thought that we should maybe make this a little bit lighter so that you can see, you know, a little.
Where you are, make it.
You can see a little more transparent, and I thought that was a good suggestion.
Yeah.
So is council good with that?
I do, that's fine. You can
Okay.
turn the transparency level down.
Yeah, I don't think that would be.
That
Makes it easier to find.
That's just a printed map,
And
that's not,
thank you for Councilmember Marietta Bruton Blake for picking up the maps for us. It's not too far from his work. And it cost us $6 each, so before we approve, we get, you know, it's an expensive version done, then this is what, but thank you for picking that up.
And we're adding a little,
so I'll speak on that if you want me to, Mike. I called the engineers today that I found on, let's flip back to the point of beginning, point of ends. So just just so everybody can hear me, I caught this, late this afternoon and talked to Chase. So this is K11, goes to the point which is center of the road. It should extend past it according to what y'all voted for. Y'all wanted the semicircles. It would be similar to H21 here. See, it's a half road. It'd be similar to H9 here, which is a half road.
So you're saying this needs one right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other roads,
what did he say?
the semicircles would be enveloped inside of the other side of the road, right?
Yeah.
So that was the only correction that I noted to him. What he said was he would be glad to look into that, but while we was on the phone, he looked at the original incorporation documents, which I had to go back and look, and it wasn't on there. So that's.
So do we want to be consistent, is what you're saying?
That's one question that's one area of inconsistency as
So
we've
you're
been.
saying that on the original incorporation, it wasn't on there, but then Stovall Engineering put it on there?
No,
Or what did
it
you
was
say?
never included on there.
Included on there.
But if,
So then why are you saying it should be added?
well, y'all said y'all wanted to extend past the point of ends with the semicircle. The point of end is in the center of the road, so it would have to extend another 311 feet.
But I think we voted to go with what was on the original incorporation map.
Well, that's,
We've deviated
We
in
de-
other areas.
yeah.
So,
it's really our choice. I mean,
We tried to make it consistent between the errors in both documents we were given,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So Gary, they called me back. This is kind of a two-part conversation. Gary was on the phone the second time, and Gary hasn't worked on this. Gary was the original guy we talked to. Gary kind of stepped down in the company a little bit, I guess. But anyways, Chase and them's been running it. So Gary asked me where we was at on the semicircles, because that was one of the early conversations that Tom and I had with him, semicircles. And I said, well, the council voted 3-2 to include those. He said, I see. I said, but I still can't get past, Gary, the point of end and point of beginning and what that definition means. The point of beginning, then you step back 311 feet, and the point of end 311 feet. And Gary's only comment was, I can't argue against you, Terry. So I just want the council to consider that.
Well, they
As-
actually can be beneficial from what I can tell.
Okay.
They have their advantages.
So the other thing that I really wanted to talk to Chase about is, as I was reading the notes section, someone had mentioned it. It says 22 TAC 663.21. That's Texas Administrative Code. So just a little familiarization. Texas Administrative Code is what dictates how things happen in government, be it a municipal government or a EPA or whoever. So as I was reading it, one of the citizens said that there's not an on-ground survey, but that's not how I read that portion of it. But I did continue to read into the section, and this is what I questioned Chase about, and I'll get to the point, but I want y'all to hear it too, because Chase ultimately said, yeah, I think we have a problem with that note section on there, and Gary did too. Let me find it on my phone. Oh, it's gonna be in this stack. So section 4, guys, this subsection down here is 663.21 in the Texas Administrative Code. So 663.21, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna read this verbatim, but I don't want anything to be distracting. So 663.21 is the descriptions prepared for public subdivision, political subdivision. This lays out how they have to do it. This is why they're saying they did it in accordance to this. Number 4, y'all can read the other ones on your own, but number 4 is what I called the question. Number 4, this note section is saying they did it in accordance to this. Number 4, the surveyor assigning the work must have performed an on-the-ground survey to support any course and distance recited in the description, except, okay, so it gives them an exception here, except that description may quote courses and distances from recorded documents, such as deeds, as long as the recording reference are recited in the document as quoted in the description. So I gave him time. I told him, no rush, just let me know what his thoughts were. And he did. He called me back at 4:45. and said, hey, I want Gary to speak on this. Let me call him in. So that's where Gary came in on the other stuff. Gary asked Chase, because Chase was filling him in on the spot. Gary asked Chase, well, we didn't do an on-the-ground survey. Chase is like, you're correct, we didn't do it. And he said, well, we don't have to do it. And Chase said, well, according to this,
But they're not attorneys. You're
Accor-
holding them to a legal
Hold
code
on.
and they're not attorneys.
can I finish?
Okay, yeah.
This is the engineers doing it. So Gary's like, okay, what are you saying, Chase? And he said, well, there's 5 stipulations here. Chase says we cannot say that we did number 4. And Gary said, okay, so we got a problem then. And Chase is like, well, he said, how do we fix it? And Chase says, we do an on-the-ground survey, or we reference 300 or 400 deeds that's established in the city already, or we take this section off of this map.
Take the notes off.
Take the notes off.
So I think that our attorney should be consulted on this. This is all legal. And so I think you're getting into muddy water there when you're asking a survey engineer to get into legal. And so that's concerning.
Well,
So while I still have the
assume
floor-
You're not taking their thing as attorney suggestions. I'm assuming you're bringing this up so that we can bring it to our attorney.
I'm bringing
and
this
thinking
up for this
about it, right?
legislative body can discuss it,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Gary will tell you 100 times in a conversation with Gary, I'm not an attorney.
Perfect.
He's not giving us legal advice, but they are admitting that they cannot state that they did this map in accordance to this administrative
Because they didn't look
code.
at the deeds or they didn't do a
To-
survey.
To their interpretation of the law, so this probably is.
Well,
Should
but
be
there's a
brought up
precedent
further.
too, you know, they did tell us, they've done so many of these, they've never done,
They've never done
Land
a full
surveys.
survey.
So-
No city could afford it.
so, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the point, and so.
Is all
if
these
it's-
cities, I
If it's a
mean,
matter of
when they
taking or
incorporate, they didn't do
editing
that.
that statement, that's probably something they're gonna have to do.
Yeah, I would wanna reach out to Berman because he might know case law on this and he might know the court's general interpretation on it that
Yeah.
we can't
I
get
agree.
just by reading it.
Well, is it part of what we're trying to do though, is preserve their professional stamp on the map, right? So whatever it is that makes them feel comfortable that they've represented
Yes,
themselves
and I can tell you Gary
in
was,
saying, we stamp this map with our professional engineering.
Gary was relieved that it hadn't been stamped. He asked Chase, have we stamped this? And Chase said no, and he said, I'm glad we hadn't stamped this.
Well, it's not been approved by council.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't, and hasn't been paid for.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess that's the issue, is to go back before we.
Yeah,
actually
it
vote.
sounds like, okay, so it sounds like we need to discuss this with Attorney Berman.
And I guess asking the question, will they stamp it without the notes?
Yeah, I guess I assumed it had been stamped, but yeah, oops.
No.
Well,
Well-
They will.
Again,
Gary said two
That's le-
points.
that's
We
legal.
survey it, we go to every point in this town and we survey it,
Or
or
we go through the deeds.
we recite, we
And
record
how-
the deeds and recite them in the description.
and how many cities do that on their incorporation?
Well, I
Well-
thought you said take
I don't
away
think
the
they do.
notes and they'd be okay with
Yeah,
it.
but that's still not a stamp map. To stamp it,
I
that's
don't,
the
I don't think,
requirement.
I would like to know how many cities in the state of Texas
Unless
have
Berman
done
can
that.
give them a legal
I don't think
saying
they
that-
have.
well,
way to do
here's
that.
one of the problems. If you notice, RPLS, 15 hours, $300 an hour. That's Chase. He's a partner in the firm, he's a registered surveyor. So anytime you get into anything that takes his time, the bill goes up very fast.
Yeah.
So that's the reason most towns don't do that, because a registered surveyor is really expensive.
So it's-
And I don't, from what, on my conversations with Attorney Berman, and with Judge Stovall, that it wasn't necessarily required for an
Well-
incorporation.
Well, it may not be, but we want a stamp, so we have to figure out.
So if he
But a
has to,
stamp is not necessarily
so if
required
he has to
either,
take
so.
the notes off or modify the notes to get them happy, well, that's something that need to do. I think we did say we would like it stamped so that we put it to bed,
Yeah.
so.
Well, we want it correct and we want it, the
Well, we want
best
it, yeah.
possible map we can get, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever they have to do to correct that, and then if Mr. Berman agrees, well, then we can do it. But in the meantime, we still gotta approve this bill.
Okay, do you wanna,
Well,
approve
I'm
the bill?
not done if we can continue.
Uh, you're,
I'd like to
I
add
think
something
this,
else.
Oh, sorry.
I think I'd like to,
Thank you. Thank you. What I wanted to reference was the 1984 incorporation document. It followed the administrative law to a T. It says beginning at this point in this intersection as a beginning monument point that's referenced. So I think that is more in line. So we may be able to do that, just find a monument point that gives us a starting point that we can reference. There was one on 986. It was called Highway Station number 174. So that's an option.
There may just be a couple of points they need to survey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to the point of the survey, I just want to reiterate, we've discussed it before, but chapter 41 of Texas Local Government Code says, upon immediately after members of the governing body of the newly elected incorporated town are qualified for office, the governing body shall adopt an ordinance requiring a survey. So that, I would like to follow up with Berman to see if, one, if we can add the reference point, and two, to get a survey, we need a stamp.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we ought to go for the stamp.
Okay.
I like the option of a few points to survey.
Yeah.
I think that'd be less time than the deeds and the complete survey.
And the complete survey.
And if we meet all the requirements of law, which Berman can answer,
Yeah.
then that's what we do. I guess we need to decide if we wanna put the half, be consistent and put the half circle on that road, so that when they're redoing this, or correcting it,
Does it affect voter registration?
no.
That one wouldn't, it changes the square footage, but it's 977 square feet.
Okay,
there's plenty
so
of-
it's probably
plenty of
nothing
room in there.
big.
It's not gonna change our square miles enough.
and I think there was a
That one
citizen,
won't.
That one won't.
yeah, there was a
Others
citizen who
do.
was asking about,
Well, the other ones are included. That's what they told us.
yeah, there, so,
We asked them to include them. They're not in the
Well,
corporation
only because they
document.
were, that's the way everybody saw the map.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we're trying to make it what everybody's used to seeing.
Yeah.
makes sense.
But that particular one's the last error that I found.
Don't say that.
It's the last
don't
one
have
that I found.
So far.
Most recent one.
Yeah.
Most recent.
Most recent.
There you go.
Because you're good at
it
finding,
is
which is good.
it is complex, so,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for that.
I'm impressed, yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
it is
You know how many
complex.
times
Okay, so
I've
back to
looked at
paying the
that
bill,
map
which
and
is
that's
The
next
bill
over
is,
the item.
yeah,
That's because it's the way you've always seen it.
Oh, I know.
Ken, I would like to get a copy of that, cause that's really helpful, thank you for that, Terry,
What copy of
of some of that,
What you read to us, the number 4.
TAC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you in an email.
And
okay, very
So,
good. We have a bill, is there a motion to pay the bill?
I make a motion, we pay the Hendricks, Berghoff Hendricks Carter bill of $5,040.
second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake, to pay the bill of $5,040 for the additional 17 hours. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, and I presume that because of the questions raised, we'll discuss some of those things. If you'll email me those, Terry, that'd be great. We can talk to Attorney Berman about it, and then maybe go forward with whatever Attorney Berman suggests and recommends, and
Yeah,
that
well,
is
once-
within their comfort zone of what they feel like they can do.
Once he does it, will you call them and tell them what our solution may be? I mean, if he says, if they say they can do just a few points of thing and they will do it and the attorney's good with that, you wanna be you and Tom have been talking with them,
But if it exceeds $500,
well then,
well, I don't know. How does that work with our tests?
well,
Because we approved up to like a 29,000
yeah, I think
or
we're
something.
still within
We're
budget.
still
so-
within budget on that.
Yeah.
But if you and Tom could talk with them on that, that
But
would,
Berman's gonna be first. He's gonna need some time to digest the administrative code,
Yeah,
the local government code,
and then he can
and
advise
the
you
options.
what the options may be, but tell them
What
tell them
they
the
say.
options they say they might be able to do, to see if that will satisfy everything.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we have to vote on that, do we? That y'all will continue doing what you've been
we're
doing?
just continuing it.
Yeah.
It's a continuation. All right. All right, number 6, discuss the two 24-inch culvert replacement and 24 yards of rock for the H20 project sheet on CR 2446 for $2,200. So I got an email, and I think a phone call after the terrible rains, it was very dangerous. So I went out and put some cones out. They're still there because they came out, they went ahead and made it safe for now, but it does need to be replaced. The culvert has crushed, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but they did go ahead. I mean, it was literally, it was just very dangerous. There was a seep hole in the road.
So this is based on Hunt County's estimate then?
Yes.
So,
So he went ahead and made it safer, so now it just has some gravel over it, but the culverts need to be replaced.
okay.
And so they went ahead and put some rock for safety. We still have our cones out there for safety, but the culverts need to.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Anderson to approve the $2,200 for the 24-inch culvert replacements and 24 yards of rock for the H20 project sheet. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 7. Discuss the March 28th and 29th for spring cleanup with dumpsters provided at Town Hall parking lot with emphasis on CR 247 and 248. So we were working on 247 and realized, oh my, someone had commented, one of the volunteers, so like, this road needs some work. I'm like, yeah, we've never had a cleanup emphasis on this road. Let's do it. So that's why it's on there. And I asked Secretary Ann to refresh I wanted a little more emphasis on, we've always had the hands and we've done that for 4 years now. So she changed it up and I wanted, to point out, hey, let's make it a family affair. If you can clean the area in front of your fence row, in front of your pasture, whatever, let's make it a family day of picking up your trash. We've had some of that, but we have a lot more people just cleaning out the garages.
Can we correct this flyer then?
Sure. This is just what was?
It says 248 and 249.
Okay, it should say 247.
248.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was doing that
No,
from
that's-
memory.
248, 247. Yeah.
Everybody's
we'll,
eyes.
We'll fix it.
Yeah, all right.
And then I thought on the back we might even put what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, because this one the picture took up a little room, and that way we can communicate, make it no construction, no dead animals.
We were gonna add that to the back.
Yeah.
No barbed
yeah,
wire.
Yeah, I figured we wait until after it's
Yeah.
approved and then move it from there. Okay, I do have a sign-up sheet. We already have 2 names, so if you want to work it, 3. Oh yeah, 3. If you're able to come on Friday, that March 28th, 12 to 2 is taken, but 2 to 6,
May want to break that up.
or 2 to 4,
And then 4 to 6.
and 4 to 6.
Yeah.
We can do that. Or Saturday, the early morning's taken, but there's 12 to 2, 2 to 4, and 4 to 7. So if you would like to sign up, we have a sign-up sheet, and I'd appreciate it, because I just fill in whatever's not filled. So, okay, and you basically are there to assist and make sure that nothing illegal goes in the dumpster, and that's kind of the agreement. So it's not hard, but, you're there
So
to
we
help.
need a motion on that?
We can approve it. So is there a motion to approve the spring cleanup?
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jaffe, seconded by Blake, to approve the March 28th and 29th spring cleanup. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 8, discuss the Town of Poetry's grant ranking and the process for procuring a grant administrator with engineering company for a Phase 2 TDA block grant. Okay, so last time I got the score, and I didn't know what it meant, so I had reached out to some of these experts, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? So I got a lot of good information. So you see, and actually it's really great news. So, we had that done, it was a lot of hours, but I got it done. So in this sheet, I don't know how many have that. So what this is showing is that for 2025, they take the first 11. Okay, and this is a Texas Department of Agriculture federal grant. So they take the first 11 in 2025. They take the second 11 or 12 in 2026. So we're in there for 2026. Hallelujah. So that means
Can I
that
point
we're
out
in the running.
We're not. Those after the top 11, they're not in line by the tiebreaker numbers.
Well, I talked to the expert, and he's well acquainted with it. He said that we were. He looked at this.
Okay, because the top ones go 45, 55, 48, 49, and ours is way out of line with some of the other ones.
What are you talking about?
The tiebreaker number at the end, what score are
It
they
doesn't
going
matter.
off of?
So the top 11 are in for the first year, and then
Okay.
he looked at this, and in fact, he looked at this. He said, a lot of times, what happens, they're allotted so much money for the first year, and they'll handle the first 11, and then the second year they're allotted another bunch of money, and then they'll handle the next 11 or 12. He said it's a little bit over, so that he thought there might be even 12, and actually, sometimes cities will handle it without the grant for whatever reason, say there's an emergency or urgent situation, and they'll drop out, and then we can move up even. But he said the reason that we were given the score that we were of 182 was that our income, our average income in the town of Poetry is pretty high relatively. So our average income is $121,413 per year, and so that's why we're a little lower than some of these others.
So it goes off the total score then?
Off
That's
the total
deciding factor.
score, yes. And so, so that's why we were docked on some of the points. They have a whole point system. The maximum points, like 50 points for regional project priorities, poverty rates 20%. I don't understand some of these. The math ratio is 50 points. Past performance, your timeliness of environmental clearance, maximum utilization of grant funds awarded, timeless of completing projects, timely submission of closeout reports for a total of 200 points. And he said after, he's worked with these for years, he said that because we have higher than average income in the area, we were docked a little bit. So, on some of the report, the total population was very odd. I think it's a scoring system because it's not the population. So, they have Abilene at 280. So I think it's a point system and not actually the population. And then they go with the unemployment rate. So our unemployment rate in the town of Poetry is 2.09%. The highest one I saw, was 13% in Dulce City, Texas. So, and then Alamo City was pretty high. But ours was one of the lower ones. So, and then they go, they have a poverty rate, and our poverty rate was only 2.45%. So.
How do they know that?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe you think they're using census information?
Facebook.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So then I asked him, how does this work? So, it's $750,000 maximum. So in our cut, our responsibility that we voted on was 5%. So the maximum that we would have to pay is what, the $37,500. He said, now what happens is, okay, so they're dealing with that first year, 11, the 2025 year, they're dealing with those, okay? Now in 2026, they'll get to us, is what he said. So he said, what you need to do is get ready because you have to hit the ground running to make the deadlines. And so in advance, it's very smart very essential that you go ahead and get approved and go through the process for a grant administrator and a grant engineer. And the grant administrator will be about $100,000 on average. Now that can be taken out of the money that you receive, and then the grant engineer is about $50,000, and again, it can be taken out of that money. He says what some towns will do is go ahead and get that administrator on board, kind of like you have to do in the process, like we did engineer, I think. It's a process, and you have several come and give you a presentation, and then you choose them, but they have, because it's very involved. They do it differently now, where I was able to do it. It was some work, but it wasn't astronomical. But the administrator has to handle all the surveys. So what happens is they have to check on the road if 51% of the people on your road are at the medium income or lower, then you can get approval for that grant on that road. So there's several roads. Now we have some very, very wealthy people. We also have some very, retired people. And who knows? I mean, someone might have a really nice house, but maybe they're retired and their income isn't what it might appear. And so we don't know that. And that's why you get that third party and they investigate all that. And then if you have that, then your road can be completely redone. And that's where that money, that money can be applied. And so it has some real potential. We do have, we have a very diverse socioeconomic base. We have, I think, the lowest priced home I saw on the CAD was $11,000, and then we have multi-million-dollar mansions in Poetry. So it's very diverse. But just because there is $1 million home on a road doesn't mean that they can't make that bar. It really depends on the scope of the entire road. And the administrator is in charge of doing that. So, but you have, it's a process. So, but we are and of course we're in the North Texas COG, it goes by COGs. So we're in the North Texas COG. In the North Texas COG, the good news is that we are in. So that's really great that we actually qualified. So there is that's really great news. That's great news for Poetry. That's great news for our volunteer roads team. That's a great news. And so that's $750,000 of potential grant money that we could potentially have. Now, that doesn't mean that all the roads are going to qualify. It means that they'll have to see and check it out. But I think we have a great potential for that.
Well, fantastic.
Thank you.
So
I guess, then, you have it on the calendar when we need to start putting out feelers for for administrators and engineers?
So he said it's usually a 3-4 month process, and you want to have it in line set up because a lot of these grant administrators are busy come, I think December of next year, December of this year. So you want them in place so they can hit the ground running because you have this short window that you got to get all this stuff done. And so you want them in place so they know, hey, we are slotted for Town of Poetry to do this come December. So we could start any time on that, and have them ready. Now, he said they do it differently. Some will do a 2-year, payment cycle where they, you just pay them so much to keep them on board. And then you can because we have to pay that, because it just is done differently. So depending on the company.
I say we start getting them in here so we can learn about it.
Yeah.
The more we hear from them, the more.
Since we aren't familiar with it, it might be.
Yeah.
Sooner
What do y'all
rather than
think?
later.
Yeah.
3. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take a 3-minute recess. It's 8:14. So Mike had. We do have a light in the back, and we also have one on the corner now, so. It is nice and bright, thank you. We get a picture of that for me. So we do have a light in the back.
Here's Tom.
There's Tom. Okay, we'll resume our meeting after that break. The time is now 8:17 p.m. All right, so number 9, we're going to discuss the town employee manual. So I think last time it was 39 pages. The council's consensus was please whittle it down, it's too long. I agree. So Secretary Ann and myself there was a lot of things that just weren't necessary and redundant. There was some redundancy, and so I had Secretary Teresa also look over it, and her input was on the holidays that maybe we have at the discretion, because Christmas sometimes can fall on a Sunday, so at the discretion of the mayor, we either have it on a Friday or Monday off, and a lot of businesses will do that as well. So to have some flexibility there, so it wouldn't just be Christmas if it fell on a Sunday. It would be maybe the Monday after on that. And then also we did have a citizen comment about the test that maybe we should say, or on page 16 have, or other appropriate tests as medical test as deemed necessary, because she was mentioning, hair analysis can sometimes be more accurate in some cases, nail clipping analysis, and so, but I don't know how council wants to word that, but other medical or other appropriate tests, medical test as deemed necessary might be in order there. We did talk with Debbie about the manual and the auditor, yeah. Debbie Taylor about the, and she likes the employee manuals because it's one way to ensure that you are on the same page and that the employees get, you have something where, you go through it every year, and the employees have a way of being compensated and being acknowledged for raises and that kind of thing. And that it's, because you're required to do that. She said it needs to happen every year for that, and that's part of their audit is they need, and that the employee handbook's one way to make sure that happens. So she likes them.
Well, one of the questions we had was, to her, was it, can you make it simpler, or is this kind of what you, standard package that you see in other towns? Do you know if she was able to reply?
I don't think she read that. Now, Attorney Berman did, and he said, it can be less. There was a lot of redundancy, and some of it was just a lot too much. So we did whittle it down. He said it's fine.
Remind us where this came from, which town?
It came originally from Lone Oak, and it was like 40 pages originally, and now we whittled it down to 23, and that's including the cover page.
I didn't realize it would take that much out.
Yeah. And there was just, and one thing, after being an employer for many, many years, I have used my employee handbook multiple times. It's a really good way to make sure that that you're basically doing what you said you were going to do, and that there's clarity. I've referred to my employee handbook multiple times in a situation like, okay, what did I say to them that I was going to do, and what are their expectations? You have written expectations, and I think that especially when you have some issues, I think it's really important to have that. And so I really like that, because just on a one-pager just doesn't cut it. When you have issues come up, you want to have some clarity, and I really like. I know I've referred to mine multiple times over the years.
So if we implemented this today, would we be compliant? I mean, hopefully we're
Now, I would have
within the
to,
bounds of
There's
this.
no need for who comply with who.
Well, I mean, if we started using this today, and Teresa and Ann come in tomorrow, the next day, I mean, are we doing everything the way we would do it under the guise of this manual,
Now,
or would things change?
with the exception of that, we might have to, the logbooks on 18.03, that hasn't been consistently done, but it's not been approved yet, so that's not necessarily there, but I don't know.
We don't need that.
We don't necessarily, I mean, the reason that I wanted that is because we're part-time, we have part-timers, but now that I've changed a few things so that we have Secretary Ann coming in on Mondays, from 1 to 7, and so then we can communicate them. Before, she was working primarily at home and then coming here, so there was a little disconnect there. So we may not need that 18.03, so we could probably nix that. They'd probably be really happy with that. But that was just one way to communicate. And so but now that they're both in the office, and like, so Ann comes in on meeting night to connect with Teresa, we may not need 18.03, so we could modify that, I think.
You mean 8.03?
8.03, section
Yeah,
8.03.
Page 23. Yeah, I would agree with that. I
And
think that's
yeah, because
a
it's
bit
a little much, and I think I was implementing that when we, to communicate better, like to have something, okay, what are we doing? And I think they would be happy to do that. The other thing would be to add on page 22, with days upon discretion of employer on like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because again, when those fall on Saturday or Sunday and they don't get an extra day off, most businesses and
So we're adding a category, or we're,
with
Putting
days upon discretion, if it falls on a weekend. On a weekend, because then it's not really like an extra holiday, right? Okay. And then, let's see, I don't think the appropriate test. We already have a building key disbursement form, because when I issue a key to the secretaries, I want to have that in their employee folder. And so they have both signed that now. And so I had Ann develop that, and that's of course a blank form, but we have that signed form for each of them. And so just a little, accountability that, hey, you've been given this key, you've been issued this key, and, we need it back if you do decide to leave at some point. So,
Well, I like this better than the original.
we had a little more time to go through it. It took a lot of time, and I'm very grateful. And was a trooper on that, and then I had to spend a lot of time. But I think it's important. Was there any
Yeah,
other
I guess
discussion on that?
The one thing I would suggest is, having been through this, is that there will be edits or changes
Sure.
have to occur from time to time. So in numbering the pages, rather than have 1 through 22, so that you don't have to redo or issue a whole bunch of different pages, I think it's better just to, or this is the way we've done it, is to have it by section and number pages. So it's section 7, page 1, 2, 3. Section 8, page 1, 2, 3, so that it makes it easier to modify by adding in a page rather than have to, print a whole bunch of different pages. But if it's a page numbering that makes it easy to do that. So I guess that's the one thing I've seen that I think would make it easier to modify over time. You see what I'm saying?
I'm not sure I have.
Lose the
Oh.
page numbers at the bottom.
Don't have the page
Yeah.
number at the bottom,
Well,
and then just
have
go
it-
by section.
you have it paged by section so that, say, whatever, section 3, it starts its own section.
Okay, and just go by section.
And so,
I follow.
well, that way if an edit adds
yeah.
pages, it doesn't
It
throw all
doesn't
of your
throw everything
pagination
off,
out.
and then we don't have to reprint the whole
Right.
thing.
typically,
Gotcha.
I mean, you have to go in and there'll be.
I've
things
edited
that
my,
come
my employee handbook over the years many times.
up. So,
And you're
so,
supposed to, I think legally, every other year.
so if you have it
Yeah.
that way, section something, page 1, section something, page, then it makes it easier to just replace
No,
that
good
page.
point.
Yeah.
Okay,
And there will be changes.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so, okay, good point, noted. All right,
So
so,
again, we started this conversation a couple of months ago that the auditor said we had to have one, but now she just likes to see them. It's not a legal requirement, it's just.
No, it's not a legal requirement, but she said that it's probably the easiest way to make sure that you're following in compliance with their
Okay.
requirements.
For pay,
Well, that's different, because I wasn't connecting.
for their pay,
For,
so
for
they need it
pay
for
for the
and
longevity. I
for
mean,
the
we could pass a
longevity and
resolution
pay and all that.
to pay longevity
you
pay.
could, I personally prefer having it. I've just seen the benefits over the years of having it. I think it provides a lot of clarity for both employee and employer. And so, I've just seen over the years numerous benefits from
Well, I
it.
think Simeon's asked the question that I thought last time. You said, what problem is this employee manual seeking to solve?
Yes.
And the resounding theme was we continue to want more vagueness. And now I hear Berman says that it could be less. So,
Well, we made it less.
he reviewed this one though, and
No,
said,
he removed the one last month that was 39 pages.
Yeah.
This is 23.
yeah, I still think it's overkill myself.
Well, I after
I called two cities too,
Yeah.
cause you said the secretaries were gonna call some other cities, so I called two. And both of them are represented by, our auditors. Neither one of those have them. That's Union Valley and Post Oak Bend,
Well, Union Valley doesn't even have a website.
just FYI.
I know in my business, it's been very good. You hope you never have to use something in this, but if you hire somebody and 6 months later you find out they can't keep the cell phone off their ear, you go, look, we told you, you can't do that. And they can't go, you never say anything about that.
Yeah,
It's
down, looking down the road.
yeah.
Well, and what I find is it provides clarity. So what I have my employee, when I hire someone new, I have them read over it and they have to sign a
Sign it.
sheet that they have read it. And then I have that in their handbook or their employee folder. So then I say, hey, remember that, And so it's just a point of clarity. I think it provides a lot of clarity and communication. It's a really good form of communication, and that's been the main benefit. Even if you have, you don't have a lot of problems, it sets the tone as like, okay, these are my expectations. And it cuts down on miscommunication, I find.
Well, and I think the other one is just, it makes it a little more risk averse, because you don't know what's gonna happen, next year, 5 years, or whatever. And Jonathan said, we've got something here in writing, so hopefully we'd never have to use it other than low communication. But if we did, we've got it. And so to me, it's pretty simple, just to go ahead and approve it with whatever little edits you still come up with, just to have something in the books that is going forward. I mean, we're all looking at this like it's gonna be longer than just the next year. It's gonna be years, decades, hopefully. And so who knows what's gonna happen over the next decade or two. So go ahead and get it done, and then we've got it. And it takes away one risk if something happens and we don't have it in writing. So I have no problem with it myself. I would vote for it.
So to be clear, Tara, the process would be that each employee would be presented with a copy of the current manual and would be required then to sign something that says they have been provided with a copy and agree to comply with
And
it.
they read it.
Right,
And, yeah.
okay,
Just like any regular company.
right.
Again, when I took that employer law course, is they highly recommend them. And they said that it really can help. It helps with communication, but it also can help protect both parties.
Are you looking for a vote tonight?
We have
Yes.
two edits,
Okay.
so I want to maintain those.
Okay,
I make
We-
a motion, we
except with the
accept
two
it like it
edits.
is
With
with
the
the
two
two
edits.
suggestions that you had.
Okay,
Second.
okay. We have a motion by Anders, second by Blake. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Okay, and that passes 4-1. Okay. All right, leaving the easiest for last. Number 10, discuss town of Poetry flag options. So on the website, we've had, thanks to Secretary Ann, we had some citizens who came up with some ideas. She tried to implement them as best she could. If you had an opportunity to go to the website, you saw that we had 7 options here, and then tonight someone submitted this one. It wasn't on the website, so it wasn't something that people could vote on. I didn't get a lot of feedback. We got, I think, 2 citizens who said, or 3 citizens. We had 2 votes for the one with the water tower picture, and then 2 votes for the Longhorn picture. This is not my calf, just so you know. Highlanders are very popular. It's not my, this is clip art. She pays for a service, and the Highlander calf is really popular right now. And then, of course, we've had some, we've talked about this at length with our current council, and so, any discussion on that?
My comment on the bluebonnets, that's a misrepresentation. I mean, if we're gonna have
It is.
that many bluebonnets around, have y'all ever seen it? If you're gonna do it, I want y'all to plant bluebonnets out there.
Right, we're encouraging.
Encouraging bluebonnets.
Which is how you guarantee they won't grow, is if
I
you
know.
plant them.
I'm
That's
still
right.
waiting for the ones on the corner here I planted last year. The ones, of course, in my experience, it takes like 3 years before
Yeah.
they come
Yeah.
up. But so on the edge of the town hall property, there's supposed to be some bluebonnets. I'm still waiting.
Yeah, I like top right.
Top right.
I like the top right also.
Do you?
Me too.
All right. Anybody else? Now this is intriguing. It doesn't have our town colors, but it just says Poetry Texas, and it says bright stars, bright skies, green grass, just like a poem. Now the town colors are purple and green. I guess.
Actually, I would say, what I would, if we're gonna do something, I would just as soon have the one on the top right, but have that phrase up in the blank spot.
Oh, in the blank spot.
Yeah, the blank
In a white.
spot.
It's a lot of words, but yeah.
Huh? Well,
I was
it's the
gonna-
same word, same space.
If we were editing the top right one, I'd actually just take out the founded part.
And put anything else or not put
Nothing.
anything?
No,
Just
no
nothing.
words on flags if we can help it.
not
Because
a
the
word.
words get muddled. The flag's never straight.
Right,
All
yeah.
you
Yeah.
see are moving tiny images.
Mhm.
It's just
So you're not for the Longhorn, huh?
no.
There's a lot of bluebonnets there,
That's
though.
not a flag.
So,
Yeah.
so Tara,
billboard.
back to Simeon's question on the last item. Why are we doing this?
Well, because cities have flags, and so it's just it's not a critical thing. It's not a crucial thing, but we've been around 4 years, and so most cities have a town flag, and it's
You
just
get a
tradition.
patch, man.
I mean, I remember when we first opened up and we needed a seal, but a seal was like a legal obligation.
Right, and we don't have to
But
have
a
it.
flag isn't a legal thing.
But
It's
most
just-
cities do, and so and I wasn't thinking about planting out here. I was actually thinking if we could put one out, maybe a small 2x3 over by the town of Poetry, or excuse me, the town hall sign, and maybe have a 2x3 right in there, or but just another something to be proud of for poetry.
Okay, well, I guess I like the tradition of it, but I do like the founded 1845. I think that's an important, that's a date,
Yeah.
Texas became a state.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool, but
So I think it's a good thing to have myself, but I do like the one on the right, and
the right top.
top right. yeah.
He's talking about the top right. It's
Correct.
clean, and that was some of the comment, the feedback I got from one person in the citizens. Again, I didn't get a lot of feedback, even though we've been trying. Top right was popular, the Longhorn was popular, and the Poetry Water Tower. So, all right. So
So I'll make a motion, we accept the one on the top right, as it is.
as it is.
Second.
1845.
Second.
I'll grab- We don't wanna do a little straw poll to see if more people are in favor of the words or against it, cause I think we have 2 and 2.
So are you for the words?
I'm not into flags.
Period.
Ah, come on, you gotta do the tiebreaker. Words or no words.
You
It's not
don't.
a legal requirement. I'm
Okay.
a no.
You,
All right.
you have an active motion in a second.
Yes, we do. Okay, so we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake, to approve the top right, founded 1845 with the current colors green and purple and white. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, all those opposed? All right, and that passes 3 and 2. We now
Words
have
were too much.
tradition 1 over. Okay, tradition. Okay,
Not into flags, not those flags.
the time is now 8:36. Our meeting's adjourned.